everybody. I kind of thought about doing some maybe informal videos here and there where I just share things. I really miss just sharing things, but sharing things don't tend to pull in the traction, so I kind of never did videos where I just share things because genuinely people find them boring. But if I am gonna just do what makes me happy, that includes sharing things. So I thought I will just make a video sharing what I've been watching on YouTube and maybe the past month or so. This is excluding the people that I do not subscribe to but watch from time to time. So that would be like music compilations, albums, and so on and so forth, which is a lot of what I end up watching during work time. Watching while working, because I would mostly be limited to listening to things rather than engaging in a visual medium. Lore by Night, I can sort of listen to, so here's my recommendation / what I have been watching. Number 1, Lore by Night is a small YouTube channel that roleplays a Nosferatu elder that shares lore of World of Darkness, and kinda channel that I wanted to recommend for a while, but I couldn't really find a way to. A lot of World of Darkness channels I find to be fairly boring, despite liking it, the whole world of it. Especially the official channel, because it's mostly like 1-hour interviews that just never ask the questions that I would have ever asked if I'd made an interview, just saying. So the answers are like interviewing the music producer from one of the Vampire the Masquerade visual novels, and I'm just like, yeah, the music's all nice, but I didn't really wanna talk with a composer. I mean, maybe if it's a Final Fantasy XIV composer, that would be a whole different thing, but you get my drift. That's the majority of content that you see come out from, like, official sources. And when it's just a guy that likes vampire stuff and has a nice voice where he also stays in character, it's kind of refreshing and nice to listen to. And yeah, he does have a very nice voice. So I am gonna be putting out some examples when I talk about people. They can copy claim this video, which is fine as long as they don't take me down. So here it goes.
If you're new in town or just new to this whole podcast thing, you're tuning in to Lore by Night, the podcast that discusses all things vampiric with no fear of breaching the masquerade. In this episode, we continue to unravel the mysteries behind the origins, motives, and cultures of the 13 vampiric legacies in the world of darkness. This episode will focus on the prideful warriors of the Ebony Kingdom, the Osebo. For all the shit I give the Toreador clan, for all the times I mock their shallow natures and pretentious mindsets, it pales in comparison to the frustration I have with the learned clan, the Bruja. They are just incapable of getting anything done by themselves, and are not worthy or dedicated enough to rule their destiny.
You know what this reminds me of? You know what his voice reminds me of? You know what this podcast reminds me of? It kind of reminds me of listening to those recordings in the Malkavian Primogens that died house in Vampire the Masquerade Bloodlines. Like, he would also have this kind of talky thing. It's hard to explain. It's like, just go with the flow. But World of Darkness is not the only thing that I watch. Besides this, I tend to like watch people's role plays from time to time, but that's about it. That's about it. This is like my primary source of information plus Wikipedia. And I kind of like Wikipedia because I can peruse there at my own leisure. It's kind of like, you know, when it's 4 a.m. and you end up reading about, I don't know, the golden toilet of France from 17th century. That's Wikipedia hole that sometimes people go down. And I go down the exact same hole, except normally it's World of Darkness related. But besides of that, I also, for example, like this guy that tends to review books / movies. Dominic Noble. I don't necessarily share his political views. He will find a lot of things problematic that I wouldn't find problematic, and he's quite apologetic whenever he's talking about fiction that is not written for what he considers to be himself. So whenever he's talking about fiction made for women or fiction made for gay people, he tends to be very apologetic about it, going, I understand that this isn't meant for me. Well, I personally don't need that. Honestly, you can read whatever you like and critique whatever you like. I do enjoy his style, for not only is he pleasant to listen to, he does do tiny skits inside his videos that, well, they're pretty awesome, honestly. He gets to wear some costumes. He gets to pretend to be a woman, which looks really weird. And he also does bloopers at the end of each year, which shows off everything that was bloopery, and you can see that he struggles with saying his own sentences. So, a skit example.
We shall see how much your Highlander lover cares about you as we use you as bait for... By Jupiter, she's doing the thing. Cheese it, lads! At last, we have you right where we want you. And now I'm going to, Right. Well, I feel silly now.
Thoughtless ableism aside, the book starts out pretty strong. I think Hunter did a really good job with the world building. She struck a satisfying balance between revealing too much too soon and leaving the reader confused, and the information that was revealed felt pretty natural to me. There were some plot dumps, but they felt earned, you know?
So the originally way of how I found this channel was through content that I have already read, such as Annie Rice books, and him doing reviews of that, and him doing the reviews of the movies and stuff. And then I kind of went down a rabbit hole and watching this guy review content that I'd never even heard of or have no interest to, and as evidenced by Immortal Highlanders versus the Roman Vampires, a time travel romance. That sounds ridiculous enough for me to never pick it up. But hey, if any of the bookish YouTubers wanna, you know, enlighten me of this book, I'm always up for it. I am always up for it. So sometimes when I don't read books, I listen to other people critique the books that they have read, / watch the movies based on books that they have read. Normally this guy does book review followed by movie review for relevant book. Now, to increase my variety of content that I do watch, I also recently took out to watching AB Cox. AB Cox likes historian dressmaking. It's just a thing that I got into watching, and you see there's very fringe places in YouTube where people do a very specific hobby, and it's so fringe, but you just get really excited because these people are very excited about what they do. I like weird clothes, right? And I do like historian clothes. It's not a thing that I would wear and not a thing that I would sew. That's a thing that we decided that we're not gonna be doing as a hobby, sewing historian clothes. But that doesn't stop me looking at women being excited over historian dresses that they ended up with in their collection or are making. It's something about their enthusiasm that comes off as really infectious and makes the watching experience of whatever they're talking about really pleasant.
Is a black and green, can we just say Slytherin queen, dress that I believe is from about 1858 to 1860. I will be fully honest with you guys, this is not the strongest period for me. Like, this is probably the biggest black hole timeline for me, especially in the 19th century, because as I've been really honest with you guys on this channel, I actually don't really like this time period. It's never been a particular favorite of mine. I've never really spent a lot of time researching it, but when this piece came available from Witchy Vintage, I had to get it because it's a really beautiful piece. So I was doing some research this morning before filming this video to kind of make sure I was a little bit more confident in my dating of this dress, and it honestly looks like it's basically 1860. It could be a little bit into the late 1850s. It could possibly go into 1861, but it's right there at that decade point of 59 to 60 from all the visual references that I can see.
Take this video as me expanding your horizons if you never decided to venture into the niche parts of YouTube yourself. The last channel that I'm gonna share with you, this isn't the last channel that I'm subscribed with. I have unsubscribed from a lot of channels recently in order to just stay on top of the relevant of the things that I actually am pursuing / watching right now. I tend to subscribe, unsubscribe from channels depending on who I want to follow. I don't stay permanently subscribed to majority of the channels, and when my interests change, I rediscover and resubscribe to channels. That is how I function on YouTube. That's so that my subscription box is actually curated and I can see whenever creators release videos, even when they don't release videos daily. The last channel that I'm sharing today, once again, not the last channel that I engage with, is just what I've been mostly watching in the past month. So I find this to be relevant. Caitlin Doughty, or Ask a Mortician. She used to be known as specifically Ask the Mortician channel before. I have a slight fascination with death. I don't know if that shows up in my dress style or not, but, and you know, me liking vampires and everything, no, totally can't be. Anyway, she's a mortician that talks about mortician things, such as really unusual burials, and can I keep my parents' skulls and tattoos, and similar videos, right? So this is one of her recent videos where she was explaining Graham Parsons and how he was a musician that died, and he asked his friends once to be cremated in the middle of the desert, and they pulled off a heist where they stole his corpse and drove and set it on fire in the middle of the desert. That's the gist of it, but she goes in depth, she goes to the location, she shows off the location, she shows off the hotel. She really does a lot of in-depth explanation, and once again, her political leanings don't necessarily go with me for some of the things that she talks about. I just don't relate to, but that is fine. I don't need to relate to a person 100% to appreciate their art and to appreciate what they're doing.
Was in the room when Graham died, and I think it's very important to his fans because it represents the final image of him. This was the last place he saw himself before he died. Okay, let's do this. Unless you're a fan of late 60s, early 70s country rock, you may not even know Graham Parsons, although I bet you've heard his songs. Graham was born Ingram Cecil Connor III in 1946 in Winter Haven, Florida, the grandchild of a man who owned a third of all the citrus orchards in Florida.
And that's gonna be enough for this. So I suppose it shows off that my YouTube watching style tends to be, at the moment, not really about gaming, and it tends to be a very diverse place. It's actually the same as my bloody Twitter feed, okay? I have started to follow a lot of writers or a lot of people that just have historical leanings and dad jokes. I enjoy a broad variety of content. I normally enjoy weird content, but it's normally mellow. It's mellow. I even enjoy people that like eating food. I even enjoy people that like cooking food, but I don't enjoy the over the top that you sometimes get off YouTubers. I enjoy mellow, nice flowing, nice listening channels. That is my style. So anyways, this is the video. There's probably not gonna be a lot of these like it, but I felt like maybe some of you might be interested in knowing me personality a little bit from what I engage with and what I watch, and maybe I can spread the good word on some of the things that I have been watching to maybe that one person that would have been interested in finding these people. So there you go. Feel free to go out and check out their content. Thank you for watching. I once again will make sure not to make too many of these, and see you the next time.